Hello, and thank you for joining the LT Virtual Open House. My name is Joseph Maffey. I teach the Journalism Tabulae Yearbook Production course. Obviously, just like everything else this year, our class looks a little bit different. As you can see there in the picture, we still have a lot of smiles and a lot of community that I think TAB is known for. Best way to get a hold of me is jmaffey@lths.net. And I will try to respond as soon as I can if you have any questions or concerns about the class. Talk a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into the course specifics. This is my 19th year teaching. I grew up in Indiana, so I taught 4 years there. It's my 15th year at Lyons Township. In that time, I have been the advisor of Menagerie, publishing literary magazine for the last 10 years now. And this is my 4th yearbook. The first year, I was the assistant advisor, and then the last 2 years I've been advisor of the yearbook. Excited to get started on this one. A little background about me. I'm trained as an English teacher, Indiana University. I grew up in Indiana, as I said. And then I have 2 master's degrees from North Central College, one in curriculum and instruction, and the other one in leadership and administration. Little factoid about me. Trying to give you just a little sense of who I am as a person. I love to travel, even though I can't do that currently right now as much as I would love to. But in 2005, I did a road trip around the country, went to 48 states in the 77 days that I had between the end of the one year and beginning of the next one. And just randomly kind of met people, learned their stories, and oftentimes they let me go back and stay at their couch or their airbed. So one guy I met in Rhode Island, he was having a yard sale. I kind of talked to him for a while, and he said, I have an airbed, and let's go get some cheesesteaks, and then we'll get breakfast in the morning. So I stayed at his house. 6 months later, he moved to San Francisco and started Airbnb. So a little claim to fame for myself. I think one of the reasons I love TAB and Yearbook is getting the different backstories that different people have, maybe the things that we don't understand about someone as we sit by them in class. So this is just kind of my little backstory that someone had to be the inspiration for a person to start this kind of cultural shift in how we share spaces. It just happens I was in the right place at the right time. So that's my friend Joe. Things I'm involved in at school. I'm a technology coach. As I said, I'm the Menagerie literary advisor, one of 3. I'm the yearbook advisor along with Miss Ressler, who's the assistant advisor this year. Usually I'm doing 6 or 7 different scoreboards for sporting events. I hope to do that again this year. Hopefully everyone can stay safe so we can get the athletes back for the indoor activities also. And I'm on the curriculum and staff development team. I think the goal of this course in a usual year, and I think it's, my friend used the phrase radical collaboration, is to build and maintain an extraordinary workspace. And so even though we're not here physically, we are still trying to be tabbies and working together. Right? There's no way that one person can make a 464-page yearbook. And so it does really require everyone to work together, even in this kind of Zoom remote working space. The focus is, and I think it's going to be a challenge this year for our students, is to highlight other people and not just going to, here's something that I know my friend is doing or a sibling's friend or the friend of a friend. We're really trying to make sure that we capture what this year is like for the 5,000 people that are connected to LT, whether it's students, staff, maintenance, community members. We are trying to make sure that we create this fantastic object that will get the best day of the year is actually getting to hold the yearbook. So the course goals is to make sure that we are representing the students. Who the audience is the current students, and what we say is the old people of the future. I think more than other yearbooks, I think yearbooks are held by people, cherished, but oftentimes they kind of are just there in your back closet. I think this is a book that people are going to look back on because the year is so different, or look back on how this school responded to this time. So we are trying to create a time capsule for what it's like to be a student during this particular school year. And so I think the stories, obviously, a lot of masks and a lot of rebuilding community and getting safety in place, but we want to try to capture more than that. What did we actually get out of French club, or what was softball like this year? It's trying to build a responsible social media presence. We're building design skills. We're writing stories that capture this year, not just a general statement about what it's like to be a baseball player, and photo packages that tell a complete story of the year. A little quote that I took from a Hanif Abdul-Rakib, a poet I like. It is one thing to be good at what you do. It is another thing to be good and bold enough to have fun while doing it. I don't think it's anything that we've struggled with, but I think it is something worth explicitly stating that we want to have fun in yearbook, but we also want to be good and bold enough to try something different. And while it is fun, there are a lot of responsibilities in making a yearbook. It is really LT's only historical document of the year. We have a greater access than any other students. We want to make sure that we're doing that responsibly, that we are going, when we go to events, we're doing it safely this year, that we're making sure that we are connecting with as many students as possible. And the school really gives us a lot of access to do that. So know that 3,300 people pay for our work, that more than maybe other classes, the stuff that we make gets distributed and people will look at it, and we'll cherish it. And will also give us criticism if we miss something. If an event doesn't get covered, or we just don't do our editing as well as we could have. And it's a $100,000 budget to publish the book, and to maintain all of our camera equipment, things like that. Yearbooks have been used in court for a variety of reasons, so we do want to make sure that we're as accurate as possible. Even though this is a learning experience, we want to make sure that that we are accurately covering things and maintaining journalistic ethics. As far as grades in this class are concerned, yearbook is still a class, and the process of actually making a page from a blank page to one that's printed in a book has a lot of steps along the way. So we have spread assignment plannings where teams get together to say, how are we going to cover book pickup this year? I check in with students individually along the way, as well as the editorial staff. We have a first draft that we send to the printer. They send us back things that they notice, whether pictures are pixelated or words are going off the page. And so then we do a revision to the proof draft and do a final revision check with our editors-in-chief. Ultimately, the only thing that we really are concerned about is what gets printed in the book. So 100% of the grade is the final printed version with a lot of feedback along the way. Things are obviously going to look a little different this year, but I'm still committed to having professionals come in and do some Zoom sessions with us. In the past, my friend Steve Woltman, who's a professional photographer, has shot us up, I think, several Super Bowls. He does a lot of Blackhawks games, a lot of colleges around here also. He'll come in and talk about, or on his Zoom, talk about ways that you capture events. One of his most important tips for sports that we're covering right now is making sure that the ball is in the frame so that people have a point of emphasis about why people are reacting the way they are. And that's what he's demonstrating there in that photo. Local author Kevin Guilfoyle has also come in and talked to us several times about how to capture a story, what unique details do you tell, so you're not just telling the same story over and over about a certain club or activity. And then something that we've already done this year from a masked up and socially distanced way was have our cover design session with Herf Jones, our publisher, virtual artists. We did a Zoom session, we designed the cover of the book. This was kind of mid-July, I think we did that, and we'll do some revisions. But it's nice to make connections with professionals also. How is this year different? I think for the first time, obviously, this is going to be the first year where we're designing most of the work at home. We do like those to have work nights, and we hope to have them eventually on Tuesday or Thursday nights. Looking at rearranging the classrooms, we can do that in a safe way. But all students should have access to Adobe Creative Cloud at home. Also, we bought a couple other cameras this summer because I realized that we want to reduce the number of touch points. We still need to get a few more long lenses, and we've talked to photographers about wiping down lenses. make sure we're safe if we need to trade those. As I mentioned, we need to do a lot of collaboration and flexibility. We always need to do that for a 464-page book, but really this year, if something can't happen, or if a photographer was supposed to go to an event and it gets canceled, we need to make sure that we are communicating to know that we are capturing as many different events as possible. And then we have 2 tabbies there showing off that they're masks, and we have press passes and safety protocols that we've worked with the athletic director and making sure that we are covering things safely when we go to events. So kind of the general weekly agenda on Mondays, that's the shorter period. We do a general staff meeting. What are some of the goals for the week? Where do we stand on the number of pages for our deadline? And then Wednesday, we have editorial meetings. So copy editor, design editor, photo editor, kind of make sure that people are doing what they need to be doing and have the materials they need. We do breakout rooms so we can kind of talk in spread teams. And then Friday is more of a, here's a tip that we learned today. So Friday as I'm recording this, we just learned how to do a cutout in Photoshop. So we all did that together. Different people shared their screen so we can get feedback. And then Tab, a lot of the time in Tab is spent doing outside work. So students still need to set up interviews with other students. We're designing pages, we're going to photo shoots, we're editing. A lot of that stuff happens at work nights and outside of the classroom space. So there's no traditional homework, but people will have kind of more work at night depending on which spreads they have. So I think one of the best things about your book is actually, capturing the year for the students. And so far we have these sports, and we've had photographers go to these sports. When I saw these come in, I was encouraged and really hopeful that we're going to have a great year that captures the year and captures kind of what it's like to be a Lion this school year. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, jmaffey@lths.net. And I want to thank you for your time and your support.